Hey guys, what's going on? Sorry, I'm terrible at first impressions, but that was meant to be Cartman. Anyhow, I have spent an immensible amount of time with the Far Cry 5 editor now, trying to recreate iconic games and movies, and after seeing maps of more bears and a gay nightclub, and so many pub maps that you'd think you're in a night out in Newcastle, and of course the obligatory Call of Duty maps that look more like a setting for the next Sharknado movie, I thought I would try to recreate Bioshock Infinite, the main square in fact, to scale using only generic objects. And a week of my life later creating this project has caused more problems than Jay-Z, and that bugger has 99 of them. But regardless, let's talk about the editor, things I don't like, and explore the highs and lows of trying to create Columbia. First, they claim there's 9,000 objects in this editor, yet you don't have the simple everyday things like a handle or an actual drain cover. And good God, let's get this out of the way first. The texturing option gives you 30 different types of brown wood. What am I, a beaver or Stormy Daniels? Could we please have some variety in this texturing department, like gold colour, green wood, bush effect, and etc. Also, it'd be nice in the future if we could have some pre-made set pieces that could use the trigger point mechanic that's now utilised by the enemy AI and animal AI respectively. At the moment, it would be just nice to have some pre-timed explosions or set pieces that bring our journey maps to life. Because how can you create a Call of Duty map in which nothing explodes? I'm not talking like Far Cry needs to implement some sort of Uncharted level set pieces into its proceedings, but maybe something little, like a plane passing overhead that you could trigger off if you stand on a certain spot, or maybe an explosive barrel as you reach a building entrance. Something that brings more zest, more life to the maps that we are trying to create. As of this video, the Far Cry 5 editor, dubbed the Far Cry Arcade, is a lot like a dwarf orgy. It seems fun at first, but after a while you're going to start seeing the shortcomings. Like the fact it crashes so frequently, you'd think it's a NASCAR race than a technologically advanced map maker. 3 times my computer has suffered from terrible crashes with this product, like green screen, fuzzy pixel shading, and of course frozen controls. My last major complaint here is a double dipper. Why give the player a semi-open world map to create their masterpiece, spanning roughly 500 by 500, and then limit the budget so you can only fill a beaker of water out of this ocean of possibilities? Budget is also pretty inconsistent. Like, what is this, Brexit? A massive stone column doesn't take that much from the budget, but an essential spawn point does. With my major complaints out the way, let's explore Bioshock. So one team starts off on a little airship that's exporting the tree from Raven's Dome. Players need to utilise the skylines to zip through the map and evade getting shot, while the other team starts out in the end of Infinite in the hydrophobic heavens of Rapture. Once you're at your spawn point, it'll be a race to either plasmid pulses or a cup of Comstock, dubbed COC for short. Ironically, getting the first building set up and done was relatively easy, however the COC took forever to get right. While creating this map, I wanted to make sure this was the furthest away from the Far Cry formula as possible, so I implemented a different colour scheme to give a more vibrant hue, the same oversaturation scheme used in the base game of Infinite. Then I started writing the backstory to this map, so it had some level of cohesion, answering questions like why are these people fighting, because that's what Bioshock means to me, sensational environmental storytelling. But to remain ambiguous, I will let the players and the commenters below guess the backstory to this map, so you can have your own spin and own experience. After that, I had to move on to recreating the machines that littered the world of Infinite and Rapture, and then merge the worlds together. Annoyingly, I made a funeral home called Vox in a Box in the cemetery from Infinite, but the budget exceeded the limit. I say annoyingly because I distinctively remember Far Cry 4 allowing the PC players to use their GPU to add more objects if you went over the recommended limit. I know this is probably done to create a parallel with the console players so maps can be easily exported, but it is annoying when you're creating a build like this. After that little annoyance was out the way, I created the layout after watching hundreds of videos on Infinite and playing through the game myself inch by inch, literally on that last point. To get the size and shape of the environment accurately modelled, I booted up the game, pressed record, and counted how many steps it took my character to start from the bridge and to get to the main statue at the start of the game, and then I skipped forward to a save set in Rapture so I could see how many steps were in the section, how much rubble laid bare along the ground, how many chairs and dust particles lit the room, and of course which angle the Gatherer's Garden machine was at. Creating the Rapture section was another hassle in and of itself. I knew after playing the remasters that everything in Rapture is built at an angle as opposed to the pinpoint precision in Infinite, so I needed to create a stark contrast between the two tones so you can experience the thrill of exiting this once great utopia and starting the map. My final tribulation came in the form of the aforementioned COC, or Comstock Club. I knew I wanted to create an interior that would fit into the lore of Bioshock and add the turrets from Rapture to tie the maps together. Unfortunately, the editor had another idea in telling me that there was too many physics-based objects in one scene, so I went back to the drawing board literally and drew out some schematics so I could create a believable club with multiple play types and gameplay opportunities. Then it was just down to creating the loadouts. Again, I went back to the games and the internet for some much needed research, so I need to find out which weapons the Splicers had, which weapons Subject Delta had in Bioshock 2, and which weapons the Vox wielded. Annoyingly, Booker's starting pistol isn't present in this iteration of Far Cry. I say that because it was the first gun you obtained in Far Cry 4. It would have sold people on the idea that this is an infinite map. I don't understand why that gun was cut. This entry uses the same engine and relatively the same mechanics. All you would have had to do is put it into the engine and probably add a small coat of paint to it. Finally, in the creation of this map, it was just down to naming and creating the signs and trees in the exact location. That meant laying down individual planes of grass and flower beds to create the same layout of Bioshock. Since this map was created in the sky, I couldn't add any trees to it, so I had to create my own using wooden beams and bushes, and then naming was the last thing to do. There's 8 Bioshock machines on this map, as well as a safe with lockpicks next to it as a cheeky nod to Elizabeth's abilities to open up safes in Infinite, since Booker DeWitt was thick. The dude can wield fire in his hands and survive a 50-foot drop, but he can't open up a door without the help of Elizabeth. More like Booker dimwit than do-wit. So I had the naming now of these machines to do in order. We have the Infinite Vendor Machine, the turrets from Bioshock 1, the healing stations from Bioshock, the Gene Tank, the U-Invent Machine, the bins, the Gatherer's Garden Vendor Machine, and of course the video machines from Infinite. To end this, I tried my damnedest to fix Far Cry 5's unbalanced multiplayer problems and allow every play type to be accommodated for. I don't know or even think I succeeded in creating a worthy homage to Drew Holmes, Ken Levine and the fantastic team at Ubisoft Montreal, but I can only hope it's good enough. This entire map was made as a response to Infinite. Since that game came out, I have always wondered how well would it have fared if they incorporated a multiplayer section into it, and I guess now you can help me answer that question. This video has been pretty much off the cuff, but I do want to say a massive thank you for actually sticking to the end and sticking with my voice. I know it can be quite boring sometimes, but I mean, would you rather have me talk like this, or would you rather have me start doing more of a Gary Barlow and start pronunciating each word individually? That gets quite annoying after a while, doesn't it? Anyhow, thank you for watching the video, thank you for enduring my voice, and thank you for enduring my map.